drinking myself to sleep, passing out, crying. And that's what it did to me. That's what I let it happen. I mean, we would have neighbors bring us groceries. So we would bring, and we would put the groceries on the floor and get on our knees and touch the food and thank God for the food. So I was very grateful, and I was very broken in that environment. And then maybe that same night, I buy a 12-pack of beer and drink myself to passing out on the floor, crying, because I'm so broken. So it was a mixture of, faith and desperation and all these things. There was mornings I couldn't get out of bed, and my wife would just read books over me. She would just read words over me, and she would tell me, just do it. But I was so broken. I mean, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I began to Google, how to beat depression right before I was on the edge of it, because I felt I was on the edge. I was right on the edge of tipping over and just losing it. And it was crushing. So that thing is, to not be able to provide is, it emasculates a person. It really does. So, what do you do though? You just work your way, you sweat your way out of it, I guess. I just sweated and just didn't give up. I could have given up. I probably should have at many points. There was no reason to believe otherwise, right? Talked to my friend one time, and he got up, and I was going through counseling. I was seeing a counselor for I just was so screwed up. I was so gone. And he said, "How's your business going?" I said, "Well, I'm turning the corner." And after about a month, he said, he literally got up out of his desk, and he said, "It seems like to me, every week you're turning the corner." And he just started walking in circles. And you see, the sign was, that's what your business is. It's just walking in circles. So I could look at that and said, I'm a loser, I'm a tool, I'm going to quit. Or I'm just going to figure it out. I'm just going to be a honey badger over this thing and not give a crap, and I'm going to figure it out. So it takes a little bit of naivety to make this thing happen. You've got to believe things. And even one of my first mentors, I said, I want to make $500,000 in this industry. And he said, "Mark, I've been around it for 8 years. People make like 60 to 80,000. That's just what people do here. You hear about the 500,000, but I ain't ever seen it." That's what he said. I said, I want to do it though. I want to do it. So you can, they talk about Steve Jobs doing reality distortion, and you have to distort reality. You do. You have to see what others can't see. You have to do things others can't see. You have to deal with the ridicule and the belittling and the blasphemies at you and the mocking and the jokes. And you have to take all of that, and you have to have enough focus where that stuff is just like bugs hitting the driving. As you're driving 1,000 miles an hour, there's going to be bugs and squirrels that you run over and things that are hitting the windshield. And you got to be able to take all that stuff, and you're just in galactic speed. And I would visualize with Solomon, I'd take these verses and I'd visualize that that all these promises were happening. I would visualize, there's a verse, I think it's in Malachi, where it says, if you bring the tithe into my storehouse, and it assumes integrity and hard work and 6 days and all this stuff, then I'll bring in so much blessing that I'll open the windows of heaven and bring in so much blessing you won't know where to put it. And it's this idea, and literally I would visualize all this wealth coming into my account, and literally at the federal government had a limit. I think it was $100,000 limit on how much you could put in a bank account, and we maxed that frickin' bank account out, and I literally had to go find another bank account to put money in. I mean, it was the manifestation. I saw these things happening, but I believed in them way before I had any real reason to. So faith is the evidence of things not seen. That's what living in faith is. And on earth, you've got to put your faith into tangible manifestations, things and people and institutions and realities that are touchable, visceral things. Like I would imagine that my clients would see me at a live event and throw their hands around me and hug me and cry and tell me how much they changed my life. Now, every week, there are clients that have tearful stories of how my story and my impact and this and that has changed their lives. I mean, it's incredible. But I saw it all before there was any reason to believe it. Really.
Really?
I saw every bit. I remember my phone, I would write all this stuff down. I allow myself to wake up to a text message that says, "Hey Mark, I made another $3,000. Thank you so much for your leadership." And I wake up to text messages all the time. I just got a text message, I'm not even kidding you, before this phone call, where a gentleman just made an $8,000 sale. Just right before we're sitting here. That is my life. I get these text messages all the time from teammates and clients. Hey, I just had a teammate who did like 16, 17,000, his best month ever, his first 30 days working with me. But I wrote all this stuff down. I wrote all of this stuff down. And it's happened in a bigger measure than I even imagined. But the key is you have to see this stuff. And you have to believe it when no one else does. That's what you have to do. And then maybe God says, okay, well done. It's yours. Like there's a threshold, this ugly threshold that you cross. And then you deserve it. So I wouldn't have deserved it if I didn't work for it like that. Powerful stuff. What's the secret? You know, what was it? Because you went from qualifying for welfare to 8 figures. Well, at the time when I made Solomon, it was $1 million, but you made several $1 million so fast. How'd you do it? And this was me just like I didn't want to have to explain this Solomon stuff over and over and over and over because I was doing it. Yeah. They'd say you reference Proverbs here and there, you reference the Bible now and then. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, it seems like there's a grasp on it that's different or a little different than normal. And so this was a time saver initially for me. Yeah. And partly, and I'm not even kidding. And this is on the super deep level. I'm very aware that life is fragile, super tiny. I could be gone tomorrow, I could be gone the next day. And what had happened for me was so profound that Solomon, I wanted my kids, if I died, that they could go through that course and feel like they know their father. Yeah. So it was as much for my children, and Isaac's going through it now. Yeah. It's crazy, and he's understanding who his father really is and what made all this tick. So, the motivations were just so on for. I'm not even on. It was just so natural to make this thing. Yeah. And it was such a heart project because it was, it was for my friends and for my kids, and then of course it's an awesome moneymaker. Yeah.